If any of the previous two episodes have rung true with you and you fear that you may have induced anhedonia through porn addiction and compulsive masturbation, and if you're worried about the damage that you may have done to your dopamine receptors over the years, then the good news is that the brain has neuroplasticity. And this simply means that once you stop viewing porn, once you stop masturbating to it, the damage does start to undo itself. Anhedonia can be healed. It may take a long time. On average, it takes between 2 to 5 months. It's also not easy. Just like quitting drugs, dopamine will cause some huge cravings. However, don't despair. With enough self-discipline and abstinence, your brain will start to heal itself. As the anhedonia disappears, you may be surprised at the changes you experience. Addicts who quit porn and masturbation often compare the effects to gaining superpowers, and that's because all of these ailments begin to disappear. Their fatigue dissipates, so they have more energy. Their motivation to do difficult yet rewarding things returns. They become more creative and productive. Their mood improves. They feel more confident socially. Their libido eventually returns to normal. They're able to feel pleasure in everyday experiences once again. Indeed, so pronounced are these positive outcomes that it's led to an entire movement designed to help men towards abstinence. It's called NoFap. NoFap began in June 2011 when a 22-year-old self-confessed porn addict called Alexander Rhodes stumbled upon a Reddit thread claiming that men's testosterone levels rose 45.7% 7 days after quitting masturbation. The claims were intriguing, so Rhodes decided to give it a try. He decided to stop masturbating for 1 week, just to see what would happen. Now, until that moment, Rhodes had, by his own admission, been enslaved to internet pornography. He admits that he sometimes ejaculated to internet porn 10 times in a day. Now, although it was incredibly difficult, he did complete the week. He went the whole week without porn and masturbation, and he reported that although he didn't notice any particular effect on his testosterone levels, there were lots of other beneficial outcomes. He felt that he had better focus, more energy, and was being more productive with his time. After explaining all of these findings on Reddit, he decided to stay abstinent from that point onwards. Other people became intrigued and it turned into this movement. This is the movement which is now called NoFap. Adherents call themselves Fapstronauts, and at the time of this video there are 410,000 of them around the world, and it's a really fast growing community too. Their goal is simply to attain all the benefits of living a self-controlled lifestyle free of what they call PMO addiction. PMO means porn, masturbation, orgasm. All Fapstronauts are advised to begin their journey with something called a reboot. And this simply means going 90 days cold turkey without any PMO at all. And the idea is that this gives the brain time enough to reset and to return to what it was before their dopamine receptors started being affected. The testimonials from people who have gone through this reboot process often report incredible benefits. One man wrote, "I feel like the next Sir Isaac Newton or Leonardo da Vinci. Since I quit a month ago, I've literally started a business, taken up piano, been studying French every day, been programming, drawing, and have more awesome ideas than I know what to do with." Another man writes, "Aged 49, I feel like NoFap is just one part of a whole life reboot for me. I'm journaling, reading for self-improvement, exercising regularly, and I started a new job." You can see through these two testimonials that sexual transmutation is beginning to kick back in. Remember, sexual transmutation is the changing or transferring of sexual energy into other forms of expression instead of physical expression. So as their charge begins to rise towards the red zone, instead of short-circuiting the process with masturbation, they're starting to use that sexual charge in a more positive way. They're instinctively beginning to do all the things that might attract a real woman. So they're starting to work out more. They're being more productive, they're working on becoming more interesting and charming, they're trying to improve their financial status, they're channeling their energy into character development. An anonymous 28-year-old that I'm going to call Ethan, just for the sake of ease, writes this especially insightful testimony. "Before NoFap, life was good. Except I had a big void when it came to romantic relationships. Since ending my PMO addiction, that's completely changed. A little over a year ago at 27, I was at the peak of my porn masturbation addiction. It was bad. I would masturbate every day in front of my computer to temporarily relieve my sexual anxiety. NoFap saved me. Because I wasn't able to fap, I had more motivation than ever to be in a real relationship. Instead of PMO to relieve my urges, I was always thinking about how to better myself to get a girl. I worked on my posture, I worked on my social skills, I started reading more, I became more well-rounded with hobbies. I can't pinpoint exactly when things started to change, but now I don't have any issues with erectile dysfunction. Erection quality is amazing and random erections are a normal thing again. I masturbated about 4 times since starting NoFap. The first time was well after the 90 days. Each time was because I had to clear my mind of sex to help get me through a tough time or thought process. I don't regret it, and I'm not resetting my counter because it hasn't caused me to reset to how I used to be. Interestingly, each time I didn't need porn, and it only took me a few minutes. That would have been impossible for me before NoFap. I've seen some claims of NoFap leading to enlightenment and experiencing the world differently. I didn't get any of that. I still see, taste and hear things the same. The main thing that NoFap has done is change my addiction of watching porn and masturbating to focusing on bettering myself to be the guy girls want to be with. I especially like Ethan's testimony because it confirms everything that we've been talking about in this series. PMO addiction was causing anhedonia to the extent that it was demotivating him from going after real women. He says there was a big void when it came to romantic relationships. But when he kicked that addiction, however, we can see sexual transmutation beginning to come into play. As his rev counter begins to rise, he discovers that he has more motivation than ever to be in a real relationship. Now, he took that increased drive to be with a real woman, and he thought, okay, so what do I need to do in order to get one? What do I need to do in order to be attractive to one? So he started taking care of himself. He started working on his social skills. He started improving himself intellectually, and he became a more rounded, better version of himself. Later in his testimony, he even reported that he did muster up the courage to go ask a girl out, and he is now in a relationship. Now, would he have achieved those beneficial outcomes or that relationship if he'd remained addicted to PMO? Almost certainly not. He would have kept short-circuiting himself. Masturbation would have kept dropping him out of the red zone and therefore dropping his motivation to go get that real girl. He would never have developed his character, and he would never have had the courage to probably even approach her. He would probably still be exactly where he used to be. Some fapstronauts even report that quitting PMO makes them more sensitive to subtle green lights from women. Earlier I said that women traditionally play a more passive role and they wait for men to make the move. But one way that they encourage that move is by sending out subtle signals for men to pick up on. When a man is out of the red zone though, it seems from anecdotal evidence that he misses those cues more easily. He misses chances for relationships that did exist if he'd only been more switched on and aware of them. Now, although I do like Ethan's testimonial, the problem is that he isn't a Christian. So he fell at that hurdle and he had sex with his new girlfriend before marriage. Obviously, if you're a Christian, you can't do that. You've got a longer way to go. However, we can still see through his story how quitting PMO addiction genuinely did set him on the right path. These stories show us that we can take that sexual charge and instead of throwing it away on cheap masturbation, we can take it captive and we can use it in a much more productive way. Let it drive you towards character development and real relationship. That's what God designed it for, and that will ultimately be far healthier and more rewarding.